And now I would like to present one to Virginia O'Keeffe, Ginny, my friend. My friend. Ginny is my friend, my sponsor, and yes, she was a mean sponsor. And the person who took a vision of a few women and a house with a few people in it and made this come true. I can't even imagine. We could not even imagine what this could have resulted in. Amazing place and amazing woman.
Thank you. Thank you. No. Well, now I have nothing to say. I think they said it all, but I would like to call attention to, we kind of started this, but right, within a year or two, we had a whole bunch of women who came and helped to take the organization further and further along. And I know some of them are here, and I just want to acknowledge them because we have something for them that we'll give them later in the evening. But if they could just stand, I know that Barbara Titus is here. Barbara was our very first house mother at the house in Clintonville. And I know Peggy Harmon is here. These were Peggy and a whole bunch of other women came on the board. They became people who just made things happen. Peggy was instrumental for years. And I know Loretta Tyler is here. Again, Loretta, one of the early board members that stayed forever and helped. Is there someone else here that I don't or didn't know who came? There's a ton of them. I mean, there's about 8 to 15 women who really helped take the organization along after we started, so they need a lot of praise. I have to get my papers. They made me all nervous. Okay. Well, a lot has been said, so I'm just going to kind of pass on along the same lines with a little more. It is astounding to me that the 30 years, I look pretty good, don't I? That 30 years has passed since this idea that generated out of the lived experience of 9 women would lead to the creation of an organization where thousands of women and children would find their own healing and hope and recovery. And as Jane said, the idea began in a little house in Clintonville. It was donated by one of the founding mothers, and we housed our first 3 women who wanted recovery and a place where they could be safe and work on it. Today, we have capacity to treat at least 140 women and 75 to 100 of their children at any point in time, and have probably about 160 housing units where they can live and be safe while they're participating in the program. It's just astounding to me. I pinch myself a lot. And we're also one of the only ones across the country that let children come with their moms into recovery, and that eliminates the barrier so the woman can get into treatment. And our model really has evolved. We are recognized at the state and national level for our comprehensive program that is gender competent and trauma informed. And we are seen really as a pillar program across the country in the delivery of family programming. We, of course, treat alcohol and other drugs, cocaine, opiates, and we're one of the few that deal with tobacco addiction and provide tobacco treatment for the women. It's a difficult thing, but certainly it's about health. They also get intensive case management, employment, family treatment, therapeutic summer camps so that the kids are safe and learning how to refuse drugs and not become the clients of tomorrow. And this all takes place really in a community of recovery. And being a community of recovery takes on a special meaning for us. It's a place where recovery has flourished for those thousands of women and children. It's a place of healing and hope. A community of recovery has special significance and power for us because of the shared wounds its members bring to the community. It's here that those that have never experienced a sanctuary discover a place where they feel physically and psychologically safe for the very first time ever. It's a place where everyone is accepted, not in spite of one's imperfectness, but because of the very nature that the imperfectness is who we are. It's a place where one gets a sense of fitting, of belonging, maybe for the first time too. Belonging to a whole, people working together with the same goals. It's a place where shared pain and hope can be woven into life-saving stories that save others still suffering. It's here that in discovering oneself in the stories of others, you discover yourself. And it is a community where you not only exchange stories, but possess a shared story. Today you'll hear some of those stories, but first I'm going to share a little bit of mine. My journey began in Brooklyn, New York, where I was born into a family that was rife with addiction. My father was one of 3 brothers whose mother was an addict and a father that was abusive. 2 brothers became addicts and one a compulsive gambler. My mom's father was an addict, and all 4 of the siblings married addicts. So this family history for me made me an accident just waiting to happen. Childhood was not very pleasant as we were living with active addiction and there wasn't much room for love or affection, and it fostered an environment of very low self-esteem. By the time I was a teen, things got worse. My father's addiction was progressing, money was becoming scarce, and my coping skill was to become rebellious. So I was in trouble a lot. Some people say I still am. But I quickly found out that alcohol made me prettier, smarter, my pimples fell off, I danced better, or so I thought, and it relieved the emptiness. Later, after surviving episodes of sexual abuse, I also used more and more to alleviate the guilt and shame that comes with these experiences. Soon after I got married and moved to Ohio, my father became terminally ill. We moved him and my mom here to Ohio to care for him. He died 3 months later. My mom moved in, and my disease continued to progress as I increased my use to cope with grief and with my mother, quite frankly, who was having her own issues. I was also trying to get pregnant and not being very successful at the time, and that added to those unresolved, constant feelings of being less than or unworthy. The addiction kept progressing, marriage was deteriorating, happiness long gone, and I was reaching a point where I realized I was going to lose everything and everyone I loved if I couldn't get it stopped. I was fortunate that a good friend of mine had the courage to confront me and say, Ginny, it's not your drinking, it's not your problems causing the drinking, it's your drinking causing the problem. That was an intervention, and I recommend if you know someone who's having a problem and you care for them, you must intervene. You'll save a life. So I started going to AA meetings, but back then they were still very male-dominated, so if you saw another woman at a meeting, you grabbed her and you held on. And it was there that I met the other 8 incredible women who became the founding mothers of Amethyst. We shared our stories and our struggles and learned about our disease, including the impact that childhood sexual abuse, witnessing domestic violence, and other trauma had on women's recovery. We soon realized there was a need for a safe and drug-free environment where women could go and work on their recovery and not return to using or abusive environments. I like to tell our Amethyst women that we were actually the first Amethyst community. I'm one of the lucky ones who found a way back to stand on the foundation built by recovering people, thousands of them, who were willing to share their stories. I'm grateful for all the people who helped me on my journey, for family who didn't abandon me, for friends who loved me until I could love myself, and for colleagues and mentors who over the past 30 years taught me how to live, lead, and help others. And for teaching me that giving back for what was given to me becomes the gift that sustains recovery.